Practical Issues in Classroom Arrangement by Valerie, Haley, Nate, Sean, and Abby.
The first thing to think about when thinking about the classroom environment is how the classroom looks. All of the 19 senses we have are a huge indicator of how students act in the classroom. How the students maximize growth, activate the brain, how our brains make connections, and the long-term memory. The classroom layout is also something that is important when thinking about the classroom environment. The layout affects your teaching style. Don't be scared to give the room your own touch and feel. It'll make it more personal and easier to feel comfortable in. The classroom environment not only involves how it looks, but what happens. Group and individual inquiry is really important for us to have in our classrooms. Students will learn a great deal by student-based learning instead of just the teacher talking most of the time.
To create a wow-worthy classroom, it's important to have flexibility in your classroom. For the students and instructor to create their own areas of the layout of the classroom is really good. Making the learners feel like they belong in the classroom by giving input how they want to seat in the classroom with their tables and their desks and everything, and then adding their art and creative ideas helps them feel more belonging in the classroom. Have attention with valued materials. Use neat supplies, tools, and furniture and books. Organize everything really neat and easy. Make sure to label so that students can access these materials and then you know where all of your tools are for the classroom. Some good tips and tricks to have are to have the students get involved. Research and brainstorm methods of different ways to set up your classroom that will make the learning environment more interesting. You can assign different groups with different tasks and responsibilities within the classroom to do decorating or switch seats, and where they would want things placed in their own classroom. Make sure to declutter, and Lifehacker Online has a lot of great ways to declutter your classroom or use reusable resources such as milk crates or containers that you have at home. Organize your tools and reach out to local owned stores in your community. Even by bringing in kids with you can help you. They'll probably help you with supplies, and they'll even work in discounts if possible. And be creative.
Okay, so creativity is a big part of making your physical classroom environment appealing and fun to be in for your students. Don't be afraid to decorate, add color and pictures and posters to your walls. Students respond positively to decor and colorful posters, boards, words, shapes, etc. in your classroom and on the walls. Adding color to desks, cupboards, and walls can make a big difference in your physical classroom appearance just by adding color and just more of a creative edge to your classroom. Also, removing clutter and making sure everything in your classroom has a place to be will also make your classroom more physically appealing. Clutter and messiness can make a classroom seem too busy, and disorganization can be a distractor for students.
Master Classroom Design. There's 3 really cool master classroom designs described. One was the Jamie Oliver Studio, Nourishing Mind, Body, and Spirit. This one had more to do with, I talked about having a cafe and having the teacher be like the kitchen of learning, and then that spills over into the kids on the patios of the things, and it described really openness. And I feel like one of my practicums actually kind of has one of that at Roper, where it's very open, but I don't know if we've completely embraced the concept of that. The Einstein Studio, on the other hand, it keeps that openness, but it's more of a, if it makes sense, solo openness, where you're independent in learning and but you're connected with your world at the same time. it was a pretty cool concept, and I really liked how they set it up with the Einstein and then the Jamie Oliver, like those examples. But my favorite was the Da Vinci Studio, just because it really made sense to me. It talked about how Da Vinci didn't wasn't defined by just one category. He was an artist, he was a mathematician, and he was a scientist. And it's hard to see where those things stopped and began. Like his math bled into his science, which bled into his art, which bled back into math and to science. It was a really cool concept. I like this picture because I kind of liked how it described it with he had some math stuff with this picture right here, but it just looks like a work of art as well, and looks like just a science thing. Like that's what he was ultimately going for, was something that could fly. But in the classroom, what that looks like is just being aware that all these things actually hook up. Like the ultimate goal of teaching is to prepare kids for life, and so when we teach, say, math and science, obviously those hook together, but while we're teaching math and science, especially the elementary kids, we're teaching them how to learn math and science for later and learn how to use that in their life and use scientific method for so many things. Like your whole life, you're going to see things where you observe and then you make a hypothesis about it, and then you kind of test the hypothesis, see if it was right, make a theory. Basically that stuff that happens all the time, which I think is really cool. Also, just like that also flows into behavior. Like we're teaching kids how they need to behave for life so they can do the science, and that goes right back. It just kind of a full motion, and I really like the flowiness of it. Yet I liked how it talked about how the hard surface for like just a classroom, you could really get stuff done in and not be worried about getting too messy, and even a patio outside where you could do projects that were a little messier and have a continuum to outside. All of them had really high ceilings. I think that's really cool. I think high ceilings can really do a lot for kids and just that open space. But again, like it said, a little bit of kind of soft boundaries so that you can be your own classroom in a way.
For our creative edge, we kind of just gave some examples of what an ideal, like good, like beautiful classroom would be, and what a boring, more institutionalized classroom would look like. So obviously on the left, the one with the X through it is more of the straight lines all facing the front of the classroom, which doesn't really give students the opportunity to collaborate and discuss with other students. So instead of doing that with all the tables just singly in rows, maybe consider organizing your desks in clusters or small groups, kind of like the picture at the bottom where you can see that students are all facing inwards toward the center of the table where they would have the opportunity to do that. You can also see that the teacher has added color to the carpet even by bringing in her own carpet for the students to sit at, and she has colorful numbers above her boards, and her boards also match all the other colors that she has in her room, and also along with the boxes that she has in the cupboards below, everything is matching, but it's adding color to her classroom, and it's more appealing to the eye. Another way to do this would be to have a half circle formation, and this would probably be for more higher level classes when you want to have larger discussions rather than just small group discussions. So as you can see at the top, there's an example of the circle formation, but there's also a lot of color in that classroom as well.